All right, fellas. So I know this is the conversation you've been waiting for. I'm actually going to go first. So I actually really liked this episode of WandaVision, episode 3. I'm going to rate it a 7 out of 10, but it doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. I think that they are holding on to the sitcom trope a little bit too much, but it was really enjoyable. And I maintain that through the entire WandaVision series so far, even through the first 3 episodes. I just enjoy watching it. I have a good time. It's funny. I think the dialogue is witty. And I do think that it's a legitimately interesting mystery. Likely it's Wanda struggling to deal with the loss of Vision, but they're introducing some new characters, potentially some new villains, and a new organization that I think is going to play into the larger MCU. So I've enjoyed watching it, but I am ready now for them to start to really move the plot forward. But again, I gave this episode a 7 out of 10. Trey, what say you?
Not surprised that you liked it and continuing to give it scores that it doesn't deserve.
So what did you rate this?
I actually gave it a 7. I actually enjoyed.
Interesting. The same score I gave it.
I enjoyed it. I went into it and we were texting before, and I was sending you pictures of a dragon breathing fire on somebody with a shield, and you're just going to be defending it. Yeah. And so I try and go into and honestly more for the show just to be as unbiased as possible. So I didn't like the first 2 episodes. I was disappointed in the first 2 episodes. There was some charm and some things like that, but I was disappointed, and pretty quickly into this episode, I was laughing. I thought it had a lot of charm. Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen again are just
great.
I mean, I was talking to Vanessa about this. You know what? I'm fine with just watching them.
That's what I've been saying the whole time. Like, I think they're just fun to watch. Come on, man. The first 2 episodes, it's the same in the first 2 episodes as the third episode, just watching the two riff off each other. And you got to admit, Elizabeth Olsen is amazing.
No, she is. She is, and I said that about the first episode, the first couple episodes, but I don't think they were as entertaining. Maybe I have to go back and watch them, but I thought this episode was entertaining. I thought it was funny. I thought it was witty. I thought the pregnancy thing and the jokes that they threw out was hilarious. And I'll go through some of the highlights real quick, and then we'll kick to Tony. But when they're under the table, and he says, yeah, and he says, God, I'm losing it right here. He says, I lost my notes. Anyway, he says, well, I was just reading up on the advantages of a water birth, and his delivery of that. I mean, it's hilarious. And she's having contractions. And even when she starts going into labor, the pictures are spinning, the vacuum's moving. And I said this on text. I thought the bird walking around was hilarious. Like, I was laughing. And then the bird is trying to eat,
fish.
Monica Rambeau's pants because there's a fish on it. So it's like a pelican. I don't think it was a pelican, right? But whatever bird that was thinks it's a real fish, and the bird is eating it. When she goes into labor, she lifts up Vision, and you can tell Vision, like, he can't, like, he's scared. But it still keeps a very, very light tone. Vanessa called out that was the house. You could see that the stairs in the background from one shot, that it was the house from the Brady Bunch. I don't know if you guys agreed with that.
It was I think it was inspired by the Brady Bunch.
Inspired by it. Okay.
Yeah. Because I think Tony called out
the stairwell.
Yeah, the stairwell. I think you called out, Tony, that in the first one it was the Dick Van Dyke Show house that was maybe more of like an actual replica. But this was more of like inspired by the Brady Bunch. Yeah.
Okay. So 2 more things, and I have some more thoughts, but I want to kick it to Tony. Okay. So we got color in this episode, right? It was in color.
Apparently that matters to you a lot.
Well, okay. But it's like, okay, we're going to go down to a 4:3. We're going to cut your widescreen off, right? You're not going to get color for the first 2 episodes. And then this episode, it's like, oh, we're gonna give you color, right? Now here's our gift. Here's our gift to you. Like, so what's the next gift? Now it's gonna go, we're gonna get to see this on our full screen of our TV. Like that's like Apple shit. Like, hey, I'm gonna take the SD card slot away from you in your computer, and then we're gonna give it back to you. And you're gonna tell us how much genius we are and how gracious we are for giving you something back that we took away. So again, I liked the episode. I was very, very entertained. I actually watched it twice. The second time I enjoyed it more. But I just think like, okay, we get it, but you know, I don't know. Give us widescreen. We all paid for flat screen TVs. Can we just see the whole thing? We get it. We get it's a throwback and it's to the 50s and 60s. But come on, that would be probably my only.
Watch the second episode again, and then tell me what you think about it. See if you rate it better now that you've like started to buy into a little bit into sort of the approach they're taking. Just watch the second episode again and tell me what you think. I'm telling you, I think that the Magic Show is a version of what you saw in the episode 3. I think it's
do,
funny.
but that should have been one episode. That whole thing spanning 2 episodes. That was ridiculous. Nothing happened.
I don't disagree at all with what you're saying, but to me, like the way you enjoyed the 3rd episode, that's how I enjoyed the 2nd episode. I wasn't thinking in my mind. I think this is the interesting thing too, why I have to watch it a couple of times. Like I'm not thinking as I'm watching these right now, looking for every little sort of like clue and what everybody's saying. I'm just kind of enjoying it. Like it's funny to watch these two kind of go at it, knowing there's a bigger story around it, but I'm not really focused on the bigger story. I'm just sort of enjoying what's in front of me.
But what really did it for me was the end, and we'll table that and we'll talk about it a little bit later. But what really did it for me was the end, and they started. You know, she said, "Ultron killed your brother," and then things kind of start breaking down. Like to me, that's what tied it all together. So that's why I really like this episode. For episodes 1 and 2, nothing happens. I'm not going to keep on saying it, but that's my issue with those episodes. That could have been one episode tied into one, and then we go into the second episode and it starts to kind of break down and actually get interesting. So without the end scene, I still thought it would have been okay. I wouldn't have rated it the same, but it gave you a little bit of payoff. And I said this on the review for the first 2 episodes. Without any payoff, then to me it's not nearly as entertaining. And that was my issue with the first 2 episodes. So Tony, sorry, we've been rambling. What did you?
I had to walk away
think
from
about
the screen for a minute. Sorry, I had to. My dog and
too
cat
hot,
were getting
got too intense.
No. Hey, y'all were fighting, and so was my dog and cat. So I had to go break up the fight.
That's awesome.
No, actually, Tony, we're not fighting. We've agreed that we both really liked the 3rd episode.
Chris is still trying to convince me that the first 2 episodes were really good. So
I didn't say first 2. I said second.
Well, I rated a solid 7, right? Because we don't do halfsies.
On agreement, Trey.
All in agreement. Yeah, that's the first time I think we've ever rated anything all the exact same, all 3 of us. Yeah, I feel like, okay, gosh, we get it. So what? Brady Bunch was the end of the 60s, early 70s. So maybe we'll jump into the, I don't know, what's a good 80s? Cheers. Maybe we'll get some Cheers action going on next week or something like that.
It'll be interesting what they go for. It will be 80s. Some of the preview screenshots look like it will be, but I'm not sure what they're going to go with. Who's the boss, maybe?
80s hit MASH. I think MASH was 70s actually, but we never know. Anyways, because think about it, when was the Monica Rambeau? Is that her name?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
She got thrown out. She ended in a military camp or whatever. So maybe we'll get a military camp theme next time, like MASH. I don't know. Anyways, I enjoyed it. I thought it was okay. Slapstick comedy, same thing. The stork was funny, and so Trey, you were saying this the way you saw it, and this, everyone sees things differently. You saw that she lifted Vision. I saw that Vision was freaking out and he started hovering. Okay. And then when they started doing the breathing techniques, she got him to calm himself down to come down from his hovering. That's just how I saw it.
Okay.
the scene where his neighbor, I wish I could remember names. I'm not good with it right now. Was trimming the hedges, and then he starts cutting into the concrete, and he's like, "Hey man, like, you all right over there? Like, everything okay?" And he's like,
Right.
"Yeah,
It gets weird.
yeah." You know,
Right.
it was the same thing with Kitty, where you know, her husband was choking, and she's like, "Ha ha ha, stop it!" And she just kept repeating herself over and over. And then the scene with the noisy neighbor, who, you know, they're whispering, and Paul Bettany comes out, and they're
Agnes.
talking, and Agnes. Obviously, they want to tell him something, but they can't. But it almost seems like they're afraid of something or someone that might be in control of the world that they're in right now. So that was kind of interesting. I enjoyed it. You know, the last 5 minutes, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
present day,
Yep.
let's do something. Because, you know, we were joking and said, like, I don't know if I can watch a whole 7 episodes of this. I don't know. I could watch a whole 7 episodes of this, but I don't know if I could give it credit, like enjoy it. I may just kind of like it, but not really look forward to what's next season. Definitely, probably not.
So I want to talk about what we think is going on and some of our theories here.
Ooh, yeah.
So Tony, what are some of your thoughts on what we actually think is going on?
All right, so this is what I think. Just judging by kind of how when Scarlet Witch was talking about, so when Wanda was talking about Pietro, she got super defensive, but at the same time almost I don't know what's the right word, mad, kind of like how dare you bring him up, you know, and then the other character just kind of got defensive, like she realized she shouldn't have said that, and now she doesn't know what to do. And then around that same time is when Vision and the neighbor, both neighbors, were talking, and she was like, she doesn't have a home, she's not from here. He's like, what do you mean she's not, you know, what do you mean? And the guy kept trying to say, well, she's, and then we never got to find out. So because of what happened, obviously she got sucked out of that world, put in another world, or sucked out of that reality, put in another reality. The army rushes in. She has the necklace of would you say that was, Chris? Sword. So what I'm thinking is and you know, we were texting earlier, so I was reading y'all's text, and I'm going to piggyback off of what y'all kind of talked about, is Wanda's creating this world that they're in, and some may be trapped and some may be there on their own accord, in a way. So she was done with Monica's character and kicked her out of that reality that she created for her and Vision. And I don't know where, and I don't know why, like the whole military thing does kind of throw it off, but I think that's what's happening. Like the scene in the last episode where we were watching it on TVs, and then someone else was also watching it on an actual television, makes me think that somehow someone is able to tap into this and see this world she's created to try to be happy, to try to live a normal life, and try not to let the other people know what's going on and things like that. So that's my opinion.
So could it be, and Chris, I just have a quick thought, and then I'm going to kick it over to you. Could it be that because we know how powerful Wanda is, right? Like, isn't she as powerful as anybody else? So could it be that she's almost kind of holding everybody hostage in there, and there's people that are there against their own will, but maybe they were sent in to keep her from doing something crazy, and she threw Monica Rambeau out of whatever universe she's created. And then when Monica Rambeau lands, there's obviously military there because they're watching, and they're, you know, I know they kind of pointed their guns, but I don't know, that could mean a lot of things because maybe they didn't know who it was that flew out of there. So maybe it's where everybody's keeping tabs on it, and they're just trying to keep Wanda from losing it and doing something that's worse. I don't know. I just thought about that when you were saying those things. Chris, what are your thoughts? Go ahead, sir.
Oh, sorry. So just real quick. So her and her brother got the powers from the Tesseract, right? That was what they used to give her and Silver Streak, or whatever his name is, Quicksilver. Sorry, Quicksilver. Their power.
So there's some debate about that, where it's potentially just unlocked the power that they already had, which would make them mutants. So I guess there's some discussion about that.
Well, that's a whole nother, yeah. Cool. Okay, Chris, what'd you think?
So I mean, it's a version of what you guys talked about. So it's obvious Wanda's pulling the strings. She rewound twice now between the first couple episodes and this one when she didn't like how something was going. I think it's going to be pretty tragic because she's going to realize that Vision is dead. I think she is altering the reality. I don't know if all the people were sent in there or not. I think Monica Rambeau was sent in there, and when she got in there, her memory became fuzzy, which is why in the season episode 2, I think it was, she said, "I don't know why I'm here or who I am." There's a lot of people think that the noisy neighbor is actually a witch from the comics that was a mentor for a while to Wanda. And then a lot of people too, if you think the noisy neighbor references her husband a lot, but you've never seen her husband. So I think a lot of people think it's Mephisto, who is kind of the devil of the Marvel universe, I guess. And there's a comic storyline where the twins that she created actually pulled components of Mephisto's soul to make them who they were. And so it's going to lead to a bunch of other problems that's coming down the pipeline. So it's going to be interesting because it's still not clear who the bad guy is in it. But I think on the outside, I think Monica Rambeau is from that group. Trey, I think that was all Sword that was out there. There's that version of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think she's part of that group.
You called that last episode.
And so I think that's basically what we're going to end up just sort of seeing that kind of play out. But it's interesting because I'm not a huge reader of the comics, but I always research, as we watch the episodes, and it's, I think Marvel's done a really good job where they'll use the comics as a framework, but they don't always go exactly by the comics. And so, you read what some of the storylines were, but you don't really know what direction they're going to go on the TV show. So I know I'm excited, but I absolutely think that it's something that Wanda is creating. You mentioned, Trey, that there was a deleted end scene for Endgame. I'm glad, by the way, that the Russos did not put an end credit scene in Endgame. I think it was appropriate to not have one at all. But it was sad to see, Wanda, what would have been her taking Vision's body. I just think she's devastated by it. And she feels like the life she could have had with him has been taken from her. And so she's retreating into this illusion that she's creating for herself. But to your point, Trey, she is probably the most powerful of them right now. I don't know compared to Captain Marvel, but yeah, she can alter reality. And that's exactly what she's doing right now. So hopefully in the next couple episodes, they'll start to unveil who everybody is, like in the town, and set it up for a pretty epic last couple episodes.
So at the end of the episode, also she lied to Vision, right? Because Vision came in and said, "Hey, where did Geraldine is what they call her in the, where did Geraldine go?" And she said, "Oh, she had to rush home." So that was, and you see the look on her face, which certainly was intentional. She knows that she's lying to him. So all of a sudden you start to see that this reality is almost set up where everybody's lying to Vision, right? The people outside, when he's talking to the neighbors, they're kind of trying to give him hints. But then the noisy neighbor is like, no, don't. So I thought that was really interesting. Almost like Truman Show-esque. I wrote a note, this is kind of like the Truman Show, like Vision's in the Truman Show, and there's other people that are pulling the strings. And then I noticed at the end of the episode, the song that is playing is Daydream Believer by the Monkees.
By the Monkees.
So obviously the title of that song, Daydream Believer. So that leads you to believe that obviously that this is a fake. I think we kind of already know that by now, but that this is a fake reality. Right. So I have a question actually for all of you guys. Given and I'm on record and I'll say it again. If they had condensed episodes 1 and 2 into one episode, and this had been episode 2, I would have walked away from the 2 premiere episodes going, wow, there's some really cool things they could do. Now, maybe it's unfair and I might be digging into that too much, but that so far is my biggest issue because of how much they gave us at the end of this episode. I was like, holy crap. Like, okay, this is getting really cool. And when I was talking to Vanessa loved it again. And she remembered enough of like Vision dying in Endgame and things like that. But she's like, she said, I would have rated it better if it didn't have all the weird stuff going on. Right. So she's almost opposite of that. So
that's where I'm coming from. It works on a level of just a sitcom without all the Marvel components to it. That's why I think it's cool.
Well, I didn't say her opinion was the right one. It's clearly not, but I'm glad you guys are aligned on that. So my question to you guys is, we're 3 episodes in out of 8, right? Isn't that what it's supposed to be? Where would you rate the series now? Is it on par with expectations? Is it exceeding your expectations? Is it disappointing?
For me, it's on par. It's on par with my expectations.
On par? Okay.
I knew it was going to be quirky and different. And so I think I went into it with more patience than maybe you did. I know that you were frustrated with the first couple episodes. You could tell from all of the way that they previewed it out that they were going to kind of run through the gambit of the different sitcom eras, and then they were going to sort of play off those tropes.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, I went in expecting a slow burn, and I just didn't expect a whole lot. And what I didn't expect was I really pleasantly surprised is how much I enjoyed just watching them interact and sort of the classic sitcom type script and dialogue back and forth. So like I said before, I've really enjoyed it. And I don't know that you always need sort of the big bang Marvel, universe stuff around it. I think they've proven that they can actually do something enjoyable in a smaller setting. So I liked it. Tony, what about you?
So I guess I would have to say that it actually exceeds my expectations because I didn't go in this very positive. We talked about this before, but I've enjoyed the kind of throwback stuff that they did the first 2 episodes. Not enough to rate it over a 7, but enjoyed it enough to. I was entertained. I could say I was entertained. That's what we talk about, right? Are you entertained? Maybe. So it was good. Even though in this episode it kind of was the same thing, but like I said earlier, the last 5 minutes or whatever was more intriguing. I still feel like Vision's not dead, in my personal opinion. He's a computer program mixed with the Mind Stone. So Tony Stark put him
the Mind Stone's gone. In this timeline, the Mind Stone's destroyed.
Right. But Tony Stark created him as Jarvis. So Jarvis is still alive. Jarvis is on the web. He's in the the cloud or whatever the fuck. Think about it. Anything on the internet's always on the internet, right? It's never gone. So
he's in the cloud.
I feel like I don't understand the cloud. No one understands the cloud. So I don't think I guess in the fan perspective, I hope he's not dead. We saw him die, right? But in this kind of world that we're watching now, I hope it doesn't end to where he doesn't exist and she is creating all of this in her or all of him in her mind. I hope we do find out that it's the part of him that's in the cloud. She can pull that out. Basically, you were talking about the deleted scene where she walks off with the body or whatnot, with her magic ability and things that she can do. Why could she not put Jarvis back into Vision's body?
Wouldn't that be emotionally devastating though, if this whole time he is dead and she ends up having to accept that? That to me is where
me too.
But that's where, and I know that annoyed you, Trey, the slow start, but that's where I think the payoff begins toward the end. That could be a big payoff, is that they spent all that time establishing them as an actual couple, only then to pull the rug out from under and just be so she when Monica Rambeau brought her back to reality about her brother, that's why she flicked her out of the whole dome, because she was like, I don't want to be reminded of that. I'm in my own utopia. Do not mess with it.
Yep. I could see that. I'm excited. Okay. So there's a telltale sign. I'm excited for episode 4. I think they could really push the season and series forward with the strong episode 4. So I'm intrigued now with that they gave us a little something. And again, I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was good. But the first 2 episodes are still borderline trash.
All right, we'll see how it plays out.
I'm still pulling for Friends. I want a Friends backdrop with the fake.
I think that'd be cool. They should actually do one in Central Perk somehow. Maybe they open up a cafe.
Oh yeah.
So the fake Ross made another appearance, and again, hilarious. his wife
Yeah,
says,
yeah.
"Do these earrings
The
make
power
me
goes
look
out.
The power
fat?"
goes out.
Which
Yeah.
which doesn't make any sense. And then
What
the
does he
power
say?
goes
Thank
out.
God or something like
Yeah,
that?
he's like, "Oh, thank God!" Like that. That
That's
was
Ross,
really
man.
funny.
Yeah, it's funny.
Really funny. Why is his wife asking if her earrings make her look
well written.
fat?
It's well written.
Finally,
Which
episode 3,
also,
they finally figured it out. Happy.
No, they figured it out in
classic
episode 2.
sitcom, the wife is way hotter than the husband. Like,
Ah,
you know,
okay.
all those old classic sitcoms are that way, right?
Yeah, you're right.
The woman
That's
is just
funny.
gorgeous, and they're married to some just schmuck, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right,
Good for
guys.
us, man.
So-
My favorite character of this whole thing.
We're going to bring episode 3 review to a close, and we're going to move to what we hate. And so this week's What We Hate is brought to you by Tony. So Tony, you hate going to the movie theater. So talk to us about it.
Okay.